Hello, welcome to Awesome Premier League 29th match day. Do you feel the spring, Tom? How are you?
Yes, I do feel the spring. There are blossoms on a lovely tree outside my house for the first time in 7 months.
Nice.
I've not been ill for at least 3 weeks, so everything's going great. Thank you for asking. Spring is in the air. We're at the business end.
Are you allergic or not?
I'm allergic to nothing apart from happiness.
Lucky. Lucky you guys. Remember to leave your comments. We will give you some tips, some predictions, and some information about this match day. And of course, press the like and subscribe. Let's go on now with the show. Because remember, this is not the weather channel. So we are going to talk about football right now. And we have 3 games, actually. On Saturday, we have Brighton, Liverpool. Liverpool, after the defeat, I was surprised, actually, against Inter in the Champions League. Also suffering a lot in the Premier League, but they got the 3 points against West Ham. I guess it's not a bad time, no, to visit the south of England to go to Brighton, because 4 consecutive defeats for Brighton.
Yeah, exactly right. I think maybe my long-term backing of the Brighton draw, which has won us 12 bets this season, is coming to an end. I'm not going to be doing that this week because they are in free fall. They are in just atrocious form, Brighton. And the big question is why? Because there's no real logic to it at this moment in time. Injuries aren't that bad. You know, they lost Dunk for a couple of games of suspension, but Webster's been back, Duffy's been playing, Dunk has been around. Mope has been fit. Trossard has been fit. All the injuries they had recently all massively cleared up. So what has happened to Brighton? And it's very difficult to put your finger on it. I watched their game against Newcastle last week. I thought the desire was there. I thought the whole way they play was still there. But, you know, they did the same thing. And it's happened all season. Have the ball, have the ball, have the ball. But there's no thrust about it. You know, that's almost the Graham Potter way at this moment in time. It's what will stop Graham Potter's career advance. Where's the next bit for Brighton? And another game last week where very creative, good football, kept possession. If it was a reward for every 10 completed passes in a match, they would win games every week. But that's not what football is. Football is about putting the ball in the old onion bag, and that is not something that they do with regularity. Just 26 goals scored this season is pitiful. It's pitiful. Brentford, Newcastle, Leicester, even Everton have scored more goals than Brighton this season. So there's your trouble. For Liverpool, very lucky against West Ham last week. Very, very lucky. That Lanzini chance, can't believe even now it didn't go in. Antonio should have scored in that game. Look, they had their moments too, certainly in that opening half an hour where they scored. But they faded as the game went on. West Ham got stronger, should have got something from it. You can punish the Liverpool high line, which Inter showed us in midweek as well. You can punish Liverpool playing that high up the field if you're effective when you get in behind. And when the fullback's long out of position, if you keep the ball away from Van Dijk, you've got a great chance of scoring. Trouble is, who's going to score for Brighton, right? It's the same issue that almost all teams have got against Liverpool. Who has got the stones to score against them? West Ham had them, couldn't take their chances. I'm not sure Liverpool are going to get even taken in behind in this game, because where's the pace over the top for Brighton, which you need to get in against Liverpool? So no fuss, no muss on this one. I think Liverpool win it. I think they'll win comfortably. I think Liverpool win without conceding. I look at your Asian handicap here at plus 2.5. I'd be looking for at least 3-0 and double it up with a Luis Diaz goal, because he right now is the best player in the Premier League. He will score. Liverpool will thrash Brighton and they won't concede.
What a player. Liverpool to score in both halves. Player is saying this market usually have really high odds. Then relegation battle, Brentford, Burnley. This is a 6-pointer. Brentford got the victory, as you said, by the way, in Carrow Road. So that was really, really important. Their previous victory was on the 2nd of January. If they win this one, they will be very, very close from staying another year in the Premier League, because they are facing Burnley.
Yes, tough game this one to call, actually, as the odds will show you, because On Brentford, I mean, they were always going to win last week against Norwich. Norwich, their goose is cooked. They are going down. And I'm going to revert this week, spoiler alert, to the usual Norwich are going to lose bet. A couple of weeks ago, I did look for a draw for them, but I think I've only backed them to win like one time this season, to draw twice this season and lose the rest. At the moment, Norwich's terrible form is putting my kids through college, but we'll get to that. For Brentford, Ivan Toney being back, crucial. Brian Mbeumo being back, crucial. You know, they've had a massive injury list all season. David Raya came back over Christmas, January time, and has taken some time to get back to his best. Christian Norgard playing well again. Christian Eriksen delivering a couple of great corners for goals against Norwich last week. So getting players back, you were so fortunate to play Brentford between December and February because they were on their knees getting battered every week. The squad was not ready for that mad period of Premier League action. Now, bad time to play them. For Burnley, the comeback is over. The little run is over. Struggled against Crystal Palace. Really poor, I thought, against Leicester in the 2-0 loss. And funnily enough, I thought the Chelsea game last weekend was probably their best performance of the last three. They played reasonably well. And if it wasn't for Chelsea just snatching the game away from them like the ghost in the film Ghost, then I just don't think that they would have lost that game. But Chelsea just went up through the gears. If they didn't, they could have got something from it. Ben Mee will hopefully be back. Makes a massive difference when Mee and Tarkowski are there. They're a great partnership. Separately, not so much. Nathan Collins, not so good. And at the top end of the field, I think Wout Weghorst has done well. He's not scoring enough goals. And they've got to get Max Cornet on the pitch. He's got to be on the pitch a bit more. Otherwise, they could well still be relegated this season. I think that going Brentford victory won't be worth your time here, even with the odds as they are at 2.3. But I don't think that's good enough to go Brentford win. I think there's every chance this is low scoring. Take the under on the game at 2.5. Go wild on corners here. Wild. I'd be looking for a game of over 15 corners. It's normally an average of 12, 13 in a game. So that'll get you good odds. I'd be looking one of the teams, if not both teams, to score from a corner. Over 15 corners in the game. And I would double chance it on Burnley winning and a draw. Don't go Brentford.
Player also going for under 2.5 or draw. Always good odds. If we go for draw, Blue Shark for both teams to score, a bit more risky, no? Having these teams there. And the last game we have on Saturday is Man United Tottenham. This is a good one. Especially seeing the turmoil in Man United with all the Cristiano United thing after being humiliated by Man City before facing Atletico de Madrid in the Champions League, and with Spurs bouncing back and beating Everton 5-0, 3 victories in the last 4 Premier League games. Conte making miracles in Old Trafford.
What a great noise that was. Into it. I like that a lot.
Christmassy.
This game is impossible. To decipher, because I was at the game earlier in the season when Man United won at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that great Ronaldo volley, and him and Cavani had probably their best game together in that match. Didn't see it coming because at the time United were playing terribly. To be fair, so were Tottenham. May well have been Nuno's final game in charge, if memory serves. But it was a game that I saw completely differently to what we actually got. And in this one, I mean, the odds are quite telling here. 2.2 for Man United is actually quite long. It's actually quite long because, again, I always say this. The Man United odds are always shorter because everyone bets on them. You fly-by-night casual punters bet on them. But I would have expected them at this point of the week to be about 1.8, 1.9. To be already at 2.2 shows you how little confidence there is in the market right now for Manchester United. So it might give you some actual money to be made. For the first time ever, it might actually be worth putting some money on Man United to win. I'm not going to do it, though, because Tottenham Hotspur are perfectly built to play Manchester United. The only way Man United get something from this game is if they shut it down. They sit deep. They drop Lindelof and Maguire off 10, 15 yards. Spurs can't get in behind. And if Spurs can't get in behind, they pretty much don't have anything else. But they'll try and gegenpress, Rangnick press, and they'll try and get after them in the same way they did at Man City last week. Tottenham love that. They want you to do that. They're begging for you to do that. and then you've got Kane, and then you've got Son, and also look out for Dejan Kulusevski as well, who I think is fantastic. He's had a brilliant 4 or 5 games since Man City, which is the first time I saw him. And I think he was tremendous there, tremendous against Leeds, same again last week. One of those January signings that might make a massive difference for a team. He's better than Mora. He's better than Bergwijn. He's better than the other options they had pre-January. Dele Alli was one of them. Superb signing. I'd be looking here for the score to be goalless at half-time and Tottenham to win by the end of it. I would be looking for an underscore line. Again, go under 2.5, which is 1-0 or 2-0 to Tottenham Hotspur. But I'd go Tottenham win, Tottenham don't concede, goalless at half-time, Spurs win in the end. Maybe by 2.
Man United Tottenham, what a game. Over 2.5 goals for Blue Shark. We have to remember, as player is saying, that Man United, they are facing Atletico in the Champions League. So perhaps, to be honest, they have to keep an eye on both competitions. But perhaps can be also influential into this game. And then we jump into Sunday's games. But I want to ask you, Tom, because some people here are asking if you have something to say about the 4 games we have tonight. Actually, there is Norwich, Chelsea, Southampton, Newcastle, Wolves, Watford, and Leeds, Aston Villa, because actually our next game is Chelsea, Newcastle.
Yeah, big night of rearranged games. About time we got some of these rearranged games done. I'll give you a quick fire on this. Chelsea beat Norwich, obviously. Southampton, Newcastle, I think will be the game of the night. I would just pick for Southampton because of how good they've been at St Mary's this season. Wolves beat Watford because Watford are just terrible, but I'll be going for the underscore line there because neither team can really score goals. Leeds, Aston Villa. Oh, that's tough. I hadn't thought about that one. I would just go for Leeds because I believe in Believe. I believe in Jesse Marsh.
You are a believer. Great. Tom, thanks for your tips for tonight's games.
That's how quick this show could be. If you want, we could do this in 30 seconds. We could be done in like 5 minutes if you like.
Yeah, let us know if you like this kind of quick tips or you want the storytelling of the games. I prefer the storytelling actually. Sunday, Chelsea Newcastle. I just learned, by the way, that the UK government froze Abramovich assets, so he cannot sell Chelsea. Poor guy. And in this situation, they are facing Newcastle. This is the impact of a good manager, Eddie Howe, making the miracle, also beating Brighton. We just now know that Newcastle will stay 1 season more in the Premier League. Last 6 games, 5 victories, 1 draw. Perhaps they can even get something from Stamford Bridge.
Absolutely right on Newcastle. They are staying up. I agree completely. The winning run they have been on, it's always runs of wins that get you safe. They've achieved that at this point, and now they can bumble their way to safety if they want to. But I think they're actually going to do a bit better than that. On the Chelsea thing, that is interesting because I know this is not the forum for a deep dive on it, but it's going to affect the club massively. And I haven't read the full report as to what's happening to Abramovich as yet, but I'm led to believe there'll be a delay until the sanctions come into force, but the blocking of the sale of Chelsea will be immediate. There'll be no transfers allowed. There'll be no new contracts allowed. They can't even sell merchandise at Stamford Bridge because it's his business selling goods. That's the cursory review that I've had of it this morning, but I'm sure there will be some sort of delay to it in the same way they delayed for 2 weeks, bringing the sanctions in, even though we all knew they were coming, so we could move as much cash off the island of the United Kingdom as possible. But this might affect the players. It might affect the club because some of these players might have thought they were building towards something at Chelsea. Thomas Tuchel might have thought he was building towards something. Suddenly, he could be at a club where he's basically just trying to hold a club together like Wayne Rooney at Derby for the next 2-3 years. And some of these players who were thinking, we've got to qualify for the Champions League, we've got to do this, we've got to do that. It could work 2 ways. Number 1, players on the phone to their agent trying to get a new club already. Number 2, this could be the last dance at Chelsea for some of these guys. It'll be no longer a conversation of, can we buy so-and-so? Can we buy this player? Can we buy that player? It'll be, can we keep these players when they run out of their contracts? There's players whose contracts are winding down. And if they're not agreed currently to sign a new contract, Azpilicueta, Andreas Christensen, Thiago Silva, they can't have a new one now. So it could go either way, right? Dedicated to Chelsea, get us through the rest of this season, get our next season ambitions, or, hello, Mr. Agent, yeah, I'd like to go somewhere, please, thanks. This is what we're talking about now. Chelsea on the field were great for 20 minutes against Burnley last week, blew them away. Though we hear Reece James is injured again. That's a real shame for Chelsea, because if him and Chilwell were fit all season, I think they'd be closer to the title race than they currently are. For Newcastle, still no Callum Wilson, which is still a blow because Chris Wood's not scored a goal yet. But defensively, they look better. Midfield looks more energized, even though they still have a lot of slow players in there. See nothing of Bruno Guimaraes as yet, so I hope he'll get a start in this game, because I think we're due seeing him in a game. Now they're safe and the stress of it's all over. Tricky game, this one, actually. Tricky. I think that Chelsea will win. I think both teams will score. I would go over 2.5 goals in this game, maybe more. And I'd be looking potentially at both teams to score in both halves. I think it'll be thrilling. I think it'll be entertaining. But I think Chelsea will shade it.
Chelsea playing Lille also the following week in the Champions League. Next game, we have Everton, Wolves. Wow. You mentioned last week that you still thought Wolves was in the race, no, to qualify for the Champions League, for Europe, but they lost. So I guess they are almost out now, 3 consecutive defeats. But visiting Goodison Park, I guess, is like going to the roller coaster, no? Usually it's good things you can get from there. And I am liking all the jokes about Frank Lampard, actually. I guess the Toffees don't like it. Yeah, I don't think. he's a guy to be made fun of when he's a manager.
Hey, I'm a West Ham fan, so this is just gravy to me. I've been brought up on jokes about Frank Lampard, so don't you worry about that. Tricky game, this one. Tricky game, because Everton, were diabolical at Tottenham last week. Just utterly diabolical. It was a pitiful, pathetic performance. And the team Frank Lampard put out, from the moment I saw that lineup and I saw the midfield pairing of Alan and Donny van der Beek, I thought they're in big trouble. They're in big trouble here. The only athlete that they have who can play midfield is Doucouré, and he pushed him further forward. I can see why he would do that, but didn't work. And you've got to get Doucouré in central midfield. Michael Keane has been the worst player in the Premier League this season. No debate. He is the #1 Razzie winner this season. He is Halle Berry in Catwoman. He has been diabolical this season, Michael Keane. Another just shocking performance from him. But no Yerry Mina. So it's going to be Michael Keane and someone, Mason Holgate maybe at centre-half for this game. Huge issues there. For Wolves, you're absolutely right. Last week or the week before, it was so crucial for them. They had to win at least one, probably 2 of the games they had. And that was last week, Crystal Palace. I thought that was a gimme, lost it. Had to beat West Ham, lost it. Had to beat Arsenal, lost it. That discounts them from the Champions League. Though I do think Conference League and Europa League, still very much possible for them. And again, great achievement that would be. We should not belittle what an achievement that would be for Bruno Lage and Wolves if they do it. You know, teams like Man City and Man United can be snobby about the Europa League if they want. Everyone else would love to play in a tournament like the Europa League, like the Conference League, get a great trip to Seville out of it in the last 16, right? Fantastic. So, you know, the rest of us aren't snobby about that kind of thing. As for this game, I think Chelsea, twice now, I think Everton have got 8 home games left because of the way the fixtures have gone. That is what has to keep them in the Premier League. Games at home against Wolves have to keep them in the Premier League. But I don't think they get it. I don't think Everton have got the ability to break down Wolverhampton Wanderers, who are going to try and outhouse their way to a draw, and a draw would be my pick here. 2 scorelines, 0-0, 1-1, no clear winner. Double chance it with Wolves if you want, but I'd be looking here for low scoring and a draw.
Okay. Seville is a lovely city, Tom? One of my favorites in Spain.
Oh, well, no, I couldn't get there. I was too busy working. I'm going to the game at the stadium 20 minutes away next week, but couldn't make it this week, unfortunately. My wife wouldn't allow it.
Wish you all the best. There were some fights actually yesterday night in the cities of Seville between.
But I hear it was Frankfurt fans attacking Betis fans the night before and West Ham fans the following night. So that's what I hear from people on the ground.
A bit of a mess. The night in Seville is always really interesting. Harry is asking you actually, Tom, if you have any thoughts about Everton point deduction.
I read the story this week. I think that the way I read it is that it's more likely to be next season if there is any deduction. So I would not expect at this stage of the season them to face any points deduction. I'm made to be proved wrong, but my reading of it this week is that The case will take time. And I think the Premier League would not want to relegate someone on a points deduction. They showed that with West Ham back in 2006, who should have got a points deduction, didn't, stayed up. They got a financial penalty afterwards. I think we are likely to follow that precedent again.
Next game, then we have Leeds Norwich. This is a massive week for Leeds, playing at home against Aston Villa tonight, playing against Norwich. You said before you are a believer in Jesse March, so I guess we should back Leeds here, no? But the odds are quite low, actually.
Yes, they're low for a very good reason, because Leeds don't win many football matches, and I think that there are a lot of people who have got a lot of doubts about Jesse Marsh. I think that Americans get more criticism than maybe other nationalities who come into English football, mainly because there hasn't been a successful one. You know, we used to be skeptical of Italians, and then they kept winning our league. We used to be skeptical of Spaniards, and then they kept winning our league. You know, no Englishman has ever won the Premier League, but a selection of other nationalities have. A German has now won it in Jurgen Klopp, right? So I think that that's where we are with Americans. We're just a naturally arrogant and snobbish country, and that's what we've done to Jesse Marsh. But he's had a very solid career, certainly with Salzburg, certainly with the Red Bulls out in New York. And I think that the Leipzig time, what do you have, 17 games in charge? I mean, what was he going to do? You don't give someone 17 games in charge. What are they, Watford? I thought they were great against Leicester last week. Obviously, we don't know how they got on the Thursday, but I think that with Patrick Bamford coming back in, Calvin Phillips will be back in. I think we've got another 3 weeks until he comes back, but I think with them coming back, Liam Cooper may well return. I think that they've got enough to stay up, and I think they'll beat Norwich, because Norwich look a mess. Norwich look a real mess. That Brentford defeat last week, you know, wow. That was a just incredible annihilation of all hopes Norwich City would have had. Last time they were in the Premier League, they had a very similar points tally in the final 10 games. They just fell away. I didn't think that would happen to him this time under Dean Smith. Looks like it is happening. Josh Sargent, not good enough. Temu Pukki, not good enough. Milo Rashica, not good enough. Ben Gibson, not good enough. Grant Hanley, not good enough. Max Aarons, not good enough. Right? They're good enough to win the championship. They're good enough to compete in the championship. The squad's not good enough. They will lose. Leeds will win. And I think Leeds will win this big, actually, because Norwich have got to go for it. I see it be a real open game. So take Leeds, because 1.72, not great. So I'd combine that with goals. I would see this being a high-scoring game, over 3.5 goals in this game. That's 3-1, that's 4-0, that's 4-2. I think it's going to be a proper relegation slobber knocker. But go Leeds, high-scoring.
Okay, both teams to score is Scandy's idea. Option 1.71. Well, Norwich to win, you have to be very optimistic, actually, to do that with your money, but up to you. And it's a massive week for Leeds, so it is for Watford. They are playing tonight against Wolverhampton. They are playing against Southampton, two very difficult games away. But away, they haven't been that bad, actually, if we want to be optimistic. Only one defeat in the last 5, and was a short one against West Ham. On the other hand, Southampton, as you mentioned before also, they've been very good. They were not good in Villa Park, but at home, they are very reliable.
6-1, Watford are, near enough. I quite like it. Only because everything tells me Southampton are going to win. This is a proper punter's pick, this one, because Southampton have played real well recently, but they go on runs, Southampton. They go on a run of 6 to 8 games where they're great, and then they just fall apart like a vase falling off a shelf. And that may be the start of that last week against Villa, when they were walloped by a pretty poor Aston Villa, quite convincingly. I'm quite tempted by that, because I was at the game on Sunday against Arsenal, where the defending was quite poor, but the attacking was all right. They're one of the least fit teams in the country, Watford, but they can score goals. Emmanuel Dennis can score goals. Josh King should be back, can score goals. What a great goal by Cucho Hernandez last week. They can score goals. Oh, that's tough. The odds might have really changed my mind here. Look, I might double chance it. I won't double chance this, Watford in the draw, because 4.4 and 5.8 are very, very good odds. Not that I fancy them in any way, but Southampton, I feel like last week, that might have been the end of their run. I can see them now going on a run of not winning for 5, in the same way they went on a great winning, great performing run. That's just who they are. under Ralph Hasenhüttl. That's why he'll never get the Manchester United job, because he cannot coach consistency. So Watford to win or a draw, but I see this being quite a good game, actually. I'd go the over here, go over 2.5 goals in the game. Exciting game of football. I think Watford will score goals, both teams to score. Watford and the draw, double chance.
Hello, I'm back.
Oh, good. I lost you there. You missed my great analysis. I'm so sorry you missed it. It was brilliant.
I listened.
Oh, good.
Double chance for Watford.
Okay.
I listened to it. Next game, West Ham, Aston Villa, back in track. Aston Villa, back-to-back victories against Southampton, against Brighton, playing also tonight, but they are facing now your West Ham. Perhaps they are also tired, no? After this beautiful trip to the beautiful city of Seville.
Yeah, I think that this is too far for West Ham. It's going to be too far for West Ham. Earlier in the season, they actually coped with the Europa League quite well. But when they had a tough game in the Europa League, they did struggle next up. Losing at home to Brentford still very much haunts my nightmares. They can't change much, West Ham. I think he has to. I think David Moyes, depending on what's happened in Seville, has to make some changes to this team. He has to play Mark Noble. He has to play Nikola Vlasic. He has to play Arthur Masuaku. He has to play... well, that's about it for backups. There's not many backups. Even Yarmolenko at the moment, understandably, is not available for selection. So I'd like to see 6-7 changes from the game in Seville, because the home match against Sevilla, if they are in the game, is the biggest game West Ham have had in Europe since the 1970s. So I really, really hope he's able to make those changes. For that reason, I think they might struggle against Aston Villa, because Villa, look, they are petering out to a mid-table finish, right? That's what it's going to be this season for Aston Villa. There's nothing great happening with or about Aston Villa. But they've also got a new manager they're still trying to impress. Coutinho last week showed that he can still turn it on if he fancies it. So I would only be going Villa win here. And at 4-1, near enough. Very, very good odds. I'd be looking at Villa to win. I'd be looking at goalless at halftime, Villa to win it. And yeah, I can only see that. I wouldn't back West Ham at all in this game, even for a draw.
Wow. Then last game we have on Sunday, good one. Arsenal, Leicester, especially because Arsenal, they are in great form, 4 consecutive victories in the Premier League. They are ahead of Man United with 3 games in hand. And also because Leicester, they look like they are back after having so many trouble during the season. Now they are performing better. Very low odds for Arsenal. The bookies now trust them.
Yes, I think you're right to trust them, and I will trust them too. I think Arsenal win. I don't see a great deal of chance for Leicester in this game. Jamie Vardy came back, injured again, going to miss another few weeks. Still no Johnny Evans, still no Ricardo Pereira. Wesley Fofana signed a new contract this week, but then got COVID, we're told. So he's not available for selection still. No Bertrand, no Castagna. I mean, it's still a joke for Leicester. I bet they just can't wait for this season to end. I feel so sorry for Brendan Rodgers and people talking about, oh, should he keep the job? Should he keep the job? He's not been able to do the job this season because of the amount of injuries they've had. So, don't go for that narrative at all. But Arsenal, as I say, I was at the game last week. They're still defensively a bit suspect. Don't know about Gabriel and Ben White as a pair still. I still think Aaron Ramsdale was a bit rash. Cedric's not a great fullback on one side. And you really notice when you see Arsenal in the flesh, Kieran Tierney's a great tackler. Very slow. Very, very slow. One of the slowest players in the league, certainly in the fullback areas of the modern Premier League. So there's issues there. But going forward, I think Lacazette is playing out of his skin right now. I think he's playing fantastically well. I know some Arsenal fans give him grief for not scoring a lot of goals, but he sets everything up. And that's what Arsenal need when you've got Ødegaard, when you've got Saka, when you've got the likes of Smith Rowe, who's not been available recently, but is a quality player, Gabriel Martinelli. So, look, I think Arsenal will score. I've been looking for Arsenal to score in both halves in this game. I think Arsenal will win by at least 2-0. And I just can't see Leicester scoring despite Arsenal's defensive deficiencies. With no Jamie Vardy, there's no party. The narrative goes on. Leicester just want this season to end, and Arsenal are going to be gifted another win, which I think puts them in even more in pole position for Champions League qualification, which they're going to get.
Armin is asking you, how confident are you about an Arsenal win? Well, you see, Armin, very confident.
Very, very, very.
And how confident are you about a Man City victory in Selhurst Park? Remember that Crystal Palace was able to win at the Etihad. Man City had a very boring game in Champions League against Sporting. And Crystal Palace, they are now actually in good form. They are not conceding many goals, so perhaps they give Man City a headache.
Cracker. This is a cracker of a game. I really fancy this game, actually. I'm hoping to get a ticket for it on Monday night because Palace are just one of those teams that can pull something off. They've got so much talent in that team, but they're at Crystal Palace because, again, they don't do the things they can do consistently. It's why Wilfred Zaha has been there for so much of his career. The lack of end product on a consistent basis. But with him, with Elise, with Gallagher, with the array of talent they've got going forward, Odsonne Edouard, even Benteke from a corner can score a goal. They've got a tremendous amount of attacking threat. And defensively, they look very solid for long spells of this season. Guaita, I think, is in the top 10 keepers in the league. I think in Anderson and Gay, they've got a good defensive partnership. And they can also bring on players like Eze back from injury to give them a bit of energy boost as the game goes on. So, like a lot of what Palace are doing. Man City, I mean, everyone watching this knows a lot about Man City. The talent is outrageous. Jack Grealish had a great game against Man United last week. We've not been able to say that all season. Phil Foden, I thought, was tremendous in the game. You know, really proving himself to be the false nine that this team is almost built around right now. They could even not play Sterling last week, just bid him off for the week. And they still managed to thrash Man United convincingly. 11.5 to 12 to 1, which again, this will drift out. This might end up being like 19 to 2, something like that. Might end up being 15s by the time we get to the weekend. I don't know. I don't know. Look, that's worth a couple of quid. That's what very rarely against Man City is it worth any of your money. But at around 12 to 1, it will be 15s by the weekend. That may be worth a punter's chance. If you're doing £20 of bets the weekend for fun, that might be worth £2 of your money, right? Might be worth, you know. Obviously, Man City are your favourites. They're 1.3. This is not a game I would really bet on. But if you had a final couple of quid this week, I would put it on Crystal Palace to win this game. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying that the odds in this are so interesting, it's worth a very small bet because I don't think this is impossible for Palace, that they push City all the way. And I think they will. I still think City will shade it in reality, but the odds are quite nice.
It will be very interesting, actually, for the title race if Palace manage to get points from Man City. Corners for Blue Shark. He's saying over 9.5 corners. Alvaro is the specialist in corners.
Hey, corners is Brentford Burnley. I've done my Alvaro bet for this week. Brentford Burnley is your corners match.
Tom, this is it. We've analyzed 4 games tonight, plus 10. This is 14 games. What else can we do? Anthony's asking us for Hanover, Nuremberg, Getafe, Valencia, but that's too much. Getafe, Valencia, go to La Liga video and you have it analyzed. Then, Tom, let's listen to your ACCA, and this is it.
Interesting one this week. I like a triple. I had a few come in this season. I've gone with Liverpool to win against Brighton because I think that's a bit of a given. Aston Villa will win at West Ham because I think West Ham are just not going to be capable of putting out a big performance against the Villa team who are resurgent. And I fancy Leeds. Jesse Marsh, believe. They will beat Norwich at 10 to 1. That's easy money.
Good. I hope you enjoy the spring to come, Tom Rennie.
Thank you.
And we will see each other next week. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Remember to leave your comments and press the like. Tom, see you.
See you next week.